Okay, so I'm going to sign in as the teacher to iTCH as a teacher, because most folks will be using that. This is my teacher account. So just follow along with me and do the same, and you get your welcome for trying to maybe encourage some other people to use iTCH. That way you can get a free month if you have other teachers that would like to try it. You can get back to that over here on the side with the recommend button. So once you're in here, if you don't have your own academy, you have a teacher ID. You need to write that down somewhere so that you can keep it for your students. But you can also just go directly and give them the URL that we sent you in the first welcome email. That will fill that in for your students to save them having to type that in. So either way, you can either have them type it in, or if you get that original link, when your students click on that link, then they'll go straight to the sign-in with that already filled in to save them an extra step. So the first step really you'll want to do is add the students to your academy that you're looking to have work with you. So I'm going to add just a couple of test students to my academy. So I clicked on the add button there. So go all ahead and do that together with me. I'm going to call this first person Sarah Test. Give her a username. Let's make up something, Sarah T, and I'm going to give her a Sarah password, and then click Save. Now, if you're an admin and you have your own academy, you can also add teachers, and you can also import users from a CSV or an Excel file here. So if you click Import Users, we will give you a spreadsheet that you can fill in. So you just basically download our sample spreadsheet, fill that in and upload it, and you can upload hundreds of students at once if you need to. Much easier. So go ahead and save that student. I'm going to add maybe one more. And I have another student. Let's do Jody. Jody Test. Just do Jody. And I'm going to sign in as that student in a minute, so you'll see kind of how things look for them. Now, I already have a few courses turned on in my academy. You can see I have like 3 here on the top, and some of them turned off. So you want to make sure you have at least a couple of courses turned on for your students to be able to try. The next step that you might want to do is click on the class list. So when you add new students here, we automatically put them into your class for you. So you can see those new students I just added, they get added to the current class I'm looking at. So I'll just talk about classes for just a minute. Over on the left here, you can see there's a class default. So you can add other classes. And what that really is doing is giving you a way of dividing your students into sections or groups. So if you only have one group of students, you would just use the default class, and you don't need to mess with it at all. But maybe you have a Tuesday afternoon class and a Thursday morning class. So go ahead and add a new class for those students. So you can click add and say, Tuesday afternoon. Now, once I do that, it'll switch me over to be viewing the Tuesday afternoon class. And you'll see if I click my class list, there's no students in this class. Now I can pick any of the existing students and put them in this class as well. Or I can just add some more students here. Once I'm looking at the Tuesday afternoon class, I can click add and then add the students I want here as well. So that's a way of having a differentiation or breaking your students into various groups. You'll also notice once I created the Tuesday afternoon class that all of these units are not turned on. So it lets you separate your class into different groups and have different courses or activities that each group gets to see. So you might even split your class into a beginner class and an intermediate class. And in the beginner class, you have the beginning courses turned on, and then you add the students to the intermediate class once they get a little bit further ahead. It's really up to you how you break your class sections up. Students can be enrolled into multiple classes, but if you have the same course turned on in both classes, then they'll see that course twice. So that's typically not what you'd want to do. So that's the only thing to kind of watch out for really there. The next button over here is called Manage Students. And if you click on that, you get, as a teacher, you'll get the option of being able to delete the students that you want or reset their password. So if you want to try that out, you can delete some of those fake students you just added. If the students forget their passwords, you can reset them for them here. For instance, I'll reset Sarah's password, and it says they'll give you a new one. So you can either accept that as a password to use, or you can change it and put in what you want them to have as the password. So you can just enter it again here of what you want them to use. And then once you're maybe done with those students, you can delete them here. At the moment, those students will stay, those courses that the students have will still stay active. So really the best way to have them not come up in the same course is to just add a new class and delete the old one to remove the students. The next button over here is the help. So we have a support package that comes along with our district accounts. So if you are just doing the teacher account, we don't support the question and answers off of that system. So if you're filing questions here and you're not getting answers, that's why. It's because you have to have a school or a district account to have the question and answer support. You can still use our knowledge base. We have like a knowledge base of questions here that you can go to. And you can open tickets if there's a problem that you're running into to ask us to check it out and have a look and help you out with something. So don't be afraid to use this. It's great for students and teachers to get questions and answers, but if you're looking for coding or answers to students' coding questions or for reviewing their work, you'll keep in mind you'll need that district account to be able to do that. So I clicked home to go back again. So that's this question mark. Let's just go through the remainder items here. The first one is just my information. So if I'm in the Teach Academy with all of the other teacher accounts, then I can see kind of like how many students I have, the status of my account, how many days left I have on my account right now. I can click this middle button as well, purchase. That'll take me to make the payment for the remainder of the year. The next one down is the recommend. Again, you'll get a mail that you can send. This is just my email account, but you'll get a mail that you can send with a special link that includes your user referral ID. So you don't want to change that, but you can edit the rest of the message to say anything you want and just send that out to any other teachers that you think might be interested. And if they click and sign up with that link, then we'll give you a month for free. So make sure to take advantage of that. It's a cheap way of using the system. And you can reset your password. You can do the initial tour that you saw at the beginning, which sort of guided you through the various items here. So that's that. And I'll just talk briefly about the curriculum, but we'll have another video that kind of goes into more detail about all of the units and the courses that we have. So we have an introductory track, which is really for sort of upper elementary level starting point. And then we have a second track here for the intermediate level. Middle school is a really good place to start with these, or if your elementary level kids have kind of finished with the track 1 and you want to move them on to the next level, they can go through this as well. And then we do have a track 3 for more advanced. Our Games for Change course can be done even at high school level. It's for social justice and activities. We have a 6-week and a 4-week option in that course. The others have, track 2 has a curriculum here to track through all of the different activities. All of our activities are very cross-curricular. We blend with math and science, and as you can see, these introductory cross-curricular courses for elementary are really great examples of courses that you can use for getting the kids to learn about science and technology type of components, and even social studies types of activities as well. You'll see some math sort of mixed in on some of these too, and other things like that, where we're learning about variables, shapes and angles. The idea being that this track 1, typically at elementary level, a lot of teachers are using this for once a week. So they're going through and doing like one activity a week with the students. So, you know, that gives them a good 16 weeks, sort of like a full semester of activities that they can do with the students. And some of them they might run for a couple of weeks. There might be a couple of different levels that they can go through. So there's no real fixed schedule that you have to follow. It's really up to you how often you're doing it with your class and how they're progressing. So let's go into one of the courses. I'm going to switch back to my default class. And I'm going to just enter as the teacher. So I'm going to go to, let's go to Unit 1, the very first one. Doesn't really matter though if you're going into another one to try. So as a teacher, I see, if any of my students have been here already, I'll see some of their projects straight away. There's a sidebar of things over here on the left. If you've got this little battery with a red line through it, it means that only the teacher can see this. Typically this one should be hidden as well, the teacher's page. So you'll see that includes things like an activity plan. On a lot of the other lessons, there may be some student handouts and things like that they'll need to do. The top item here is the iTCH project workspace, to go back to that. And then if you have an assignment or a rubric for this activity, you can click to open up and see kind of the rubric that we have there. And then if you're missing, this one's missing the grades. If you put the grades item on here, just to turn that on, that should be on as well. When I click on grades, I can grade the students' work against the rubric. And because they haven't submitted anything, that doesn't automatically grade right now. But you can quickly kind of click through the rubric and grade students' work. I have another video that you can look at for learning more about grading and speed grading the project, so you can look at that in more detail if you like. So let's go back to the actual activity. So the teachers, as a teacher, you'll start here. Students will be given the starting project, so they'll go straight into the Scratch environment. I'll do that just briefly. I know probably most folks have seen Scratch, so it's not necessary to kind of spend much time on this. But essentially, if there is a starting project, the students see the same thing that you do here. They come up with the code blocks that the starting project would have. Lessons are on the right-hand side here, so the kids can kind of work through the lessons over here together with the workspace. We have a lot of our courses have videos in them over here on the right. So you can kind of play the video, make sure the kids aren't making it full screen, because the idea is to play the video and work alongside. A lot of times you'll notice kids watching videos, they watch maybe 2 or 3 minutes and they get bored and done with it. With iTCH, because they're actually working together with the video, they can go a lot longer. And they're kind of doing more interactive learning at the same time, not just watching a video. So it's a much better learning experience for them in this environment where we do the video at the same time as the activity. So the video's on the side here and they work together through it. There's a couple of buttons that are kind of key here. One is the full screen button. We've been thinking about making this by default, but basically you want most of the kids to click this because it gets rid of all of this other space and stuff around the environment. So you want that full screen button to make sure that they have the biggest workspace area that they can, especially on Chromebooks that have some pretty small screens these days. The other button here, we do save automatically, so you get that auto save. But the one other thing to look at is that we have a show project page. So this is how you get back out of here. But before we do that, I just want to make sure we run through all the things on the side here. This I button gives you the instructions, so if I switch, I can switch back to that. You can ask questions or leave a comment on the project here. There's also a question tab to go through some of the built-in Scratch projects. You can also do the same thing where you're clicking on blocks to get help on what the block is, and it'll come up in here. We have the little arrow here which will shrink this down or show it, so to give you some space on the screen as well. So show project page takes me back to the project area where we keep all the projects kind of like just with your class, but when they click back, the students get to see their project. Yeah. So oh man. So if they want to go back to look at their project from here, they'd click see inside. As a teacher, you don't get to submit your project for grading, but if we log in as a student under the More button, they can actually share the project, or they can submit it to you as the teacher for grading. And so that's another option there that they have. And you can scroll down here to like projects or leave comments on projects. The tabs across the top here, all projects, kind of self-explanatory. It's all the projects for all of your students in any of the courses. Course projects is just the projects that the students that are working in your class, in this specific class, in this specific course. So the students, a lot of activities I'll have them do is go here, look at another student's work, go inside, look at their code, and then come back and make a comment about something they learnt from that code. So it's a good way of like having them maybe even decide they want to remix or work from that, but have them learn from each other, have them look at each other's work and see what they can learn. Coding is all about kind of collaboration and learning from things other people are doing. So it's one of the fastest ways you can get them learning. And then my projects, also kind of self-explanatory. It's like the projects you've created. So you can see there's some of mine. The teacher page is only there for the teacher. So you'll see submitted projects if kids have submitted their projects to you. You can see course activity. This is for this course. You'll see all the comments, any projects that are submitted, grading, and then here's a section that you can have if the kids are asking questions just to you as the teacher. This is for this course. If they want to ask questions kind of beyond that, again, remember there's the help support tab. So this will just come up in your feed for this course as questions for that course. I think that's it for the Workspace environment. Okay, so we're going to go down now and sign in as a student and do the bouncing ball course. So I've got my bouncing ball course set to active. So now, once you've done that, you can just tell your students to log in. So I'm just going to sign out and log in as one of my students. I just check what their name was, Sarah. So I'm going to sign in as Sarah. So remember that you've written down your teacher ID number, I hope, and you've added a student that you want to try it out as. So I'm going to sign out, and I'm signing in as Sarah. Again, remember, if you don't want to have this teacher ID, you can either put it in use the original link, or you can sign up on our district accounts for your own academy. So if I sign in as Sarah, I should get a view where I can see the courses that the teacher has turned on for me. So I see 5 courses. One of them is the bouncing ball. Those are the courses that we had turned on before. So now we have a course that we're looking at as a student. So I'm just going to shrink this side panel down so I can see some more space. So I can start here to go through the intro video about iTCH as a student, but I've already done that. And you can see as I go through the courses that the lessons, they get marked in blue to kind of show that the students looked at them. That'll also show up in your teacher dashboard that they're making progress. So we're going to do bouncing ball. So I'd play this video. G'day everyone. Today we're going to look at creating our starting project. Click on that. So I'm just going to skip through this a bit because I know the video and what to do, but tell the students to basically pause the video, not to click to make it full screen, otherwise they'll get stuck, but just to play and pause this video. So it's told me to go and click New Sprite, pick a sprite, and the next steps here, play, it told me what to do next. So I go, okay, I've got a ball. So you can see it's telling me what to do, so I'm going to pause. I know how to do this, so I'm just going to do it. So events, and then I'm going to put in a loop, and motion, move, turn. Don't mind that I'm going really fast. The video takes its time, so the kids will be fine to get through it without any trouble. So I get through all that, I go kind of like bounces around the screen, change that to like 3. Kind of getting bouncing around the screen. So you can see that from here, they actually have another step in this project, which is to go and explore, try and do some stuff, maybe put in a background that they like. But at the end, one of the things you want to do is kind of share their work. And so make sure that before they come up to the front of the room, or before you have them do anything, they want to click on this save just to make sure they save the latest. We auto save, but it's not as not all the time. It's every about 3 or 4 minutes. And so if they have done any changes just recently, it won't necessarily be saved. Then they can click the project page and go and look at other kids' works or their own. But here's where we're going to submit the project for grading. So I'm going to click More, Submit for Grading. So this makes a copy of their project. So now they can keep working on their original one. They can see their submissions. They can actually submit more than once. We don't stop them from doing that, but they can unsubmit as well. So if they click on the project, they can cancel the submission. They still have their other project that they can work on. So you can see here, I can edit this and keep going, but I can't edit the submitted project. So that's just to have a way that you can give them a place that they can put their kind of work that they think is good. And then they can keep messing around with and break it, which they always do in Scratch. But in Itch, we have the ability to do that snapshot of their project for them. So now I'm pretty much all done as a student. I've done my work, I've submitted it. So I'm going to sign out and go back as the teacher. So now as the teacher, I can go down to that bouncing ball course that we were activated. I can go in, I can see a couple of things straight away. There's 20% of lesson progress and 20% submitted projects. So I can see that someone's been working on it. If I want to know the details of that, I can click on the student progress and I can see it was Sarah. She submitted a project and she's also gone through 100% of the lesson. So this is a way for you to kind of track what your students are doing, where they're up to. So if I enter into the actual workspace of that activity, then from here I can also go as the teacher to see the submitted projects. And you can see there's one submitted project from Sarah and it's not graded. So typically what I'll do at this point, if I'm going to grade a whole bunch of projects, I'll actually just right click on this and open in a new tab. And because you have maybe 5 or 6 of them that need grading, I'll just do that for all of them over and over and over. So I'll have a whole bunch of tabs of all the projects. And then I can flip over and go through all those and grade them one at a time and close the tab when I'm done. It's just a kind of quicker way to get through your grading. So I might see inside, look at the code, okay, looks good. Come back here, and there's a button at the bottom here to grade it. And I just put in what I want as a grade. And if you're grading, it's really up to you how you want to grade. You can use percentages, or you can just be like, good work, it's completed. It's up to you what that field is. So you can kind of decide what you want to put in for it. So that's how you get through kind of grading the projects. Then I close that tab down. I can come back and see now if I refresh. And the grades only go to that student. They don't go to the class. Only the student sees their grades. I can see under teacher, submitted projects, the graded ones, and the grade was good work on that project. So that's the whole kind of workflow for going through an entire course as the teacher and as the students going in and submitting. So hopefully that kind of gets you through how to run a activity with your kids. The only thing maybe I just put a quick mention in is at the end of your class, it's a great idea to use this course projects link and have the kids come up and demo their projects to everyone. So they can click, they can come up, you can see, I see all the students' work. So they can come up to the front of the room, you can click on their project, pretty easy to find. You can have them drive at this point, they click see inside, and they're going to show everyone and talk about it and be like, hey, I got this guy to bounce around on this seat, and I did this other really interesting piece of code where I made him stamp all the time or something, who knows, right? So they're going to share some of their stuff. That's really a great learning experience for them to kind of engage together as a class. So make sure you're taking advantage of that, of sharing the work together with students. If you do make changes to their projects while you're doing that sharing, you're doing a remix, because remember, you're signed in as the teacher, so you're not actually signed in as the student. So if you change their project, it's now yours and you've remixed it. And so if I do that, let's go ahead, I'll show you what that looks like. So if I remix it, because I'm making a change like that stamp that I just did, and save it, it's now got this extra remix keyword at the end. So now it's my my project, and I can go down to the bottom here to see the original, like where did this project come from. So any students that are remixing or sort of essentially copying other students' work, you'll be able to see what they copied it from. So you'll be able to see how much of the work is their own original work and how much is stuff that they copied maybe or remixed off of someone else. So just keep that in mind. It works the same way for students as it does for teachers to do remixes of each other's projects, but you can track like where they come from there. And I think that's it. Oh, sharing. So sharing, I can come in here and share this project, and that gives you a link that you can put on your like library page for your school or somewhere else that's public, because when we use that link, and you can see I put that same link in here, we take away all the student information. That way you can share anonymously the student's work with parents, but the student, any comments and all that sort of stuff is removed, so all they see is essentially this, the actual project. You can still look inside and look at the code, but that's about all you can do. You can't see kind of who made it. We take out the name here as well, so that's a way of you can have the project work that kids are making public out there without having to have their personal private information shared with the World Wide Web. So I think that's pretty much all of the different activities for iTCH. If you're looking for a more in-depth kind of walkthrough, again, our district curriculum program, we offer a couple of hours of professional development where we go into a lot more of the techniques, the curriculum, and how to kind of walk through this in a school year that might suit your district. And so be sure to check that out and take advantage of that if you want to learn more. Thanks, and we'll see you later.